J Street guy also went on Tommy Vitor's show and got very mad at me. I actually don't know. I don't know what J Street thinks about me. I have no idea. So this will be new for me as well. I know that they endorse Mallory McMorrow, and obviously we are at odds with my worldview. I think that they're trying to sanitize the American-Israeli relationship to the best of their ability. But as you guys know, for the longest time, I haven't had much smoke for J Street. So let's see what they have to say.
Let's just start with where you disagreed with Hasan on his definition of Zionism, and kind of we'll go from there.
Sure. So the problem with, I think, Hasan's argument on that, and thanks for having me, Tommy, was, he talked about Israel and Zionism as essentially an ethno-state with superior, essentially looking at what you'd call a supremacy ideology. And if you actually look at the founding documents of the State of Israel, for example, and you look at the history of Zionism, Israel is intended to be a Jewish democratic state. It was also to be, in its Declaration of Independence, described as a state with equal rights for all of its citizens.
Well, is that what's going on? Have they actually been able to abide by that standard at any point? I like that he has to say intended as well. Interesting. If he mentions that there are Arabs in some positions of power in Israel, I will lose my mind. I mean,
that's what the vision of the state was. Now,
let's see.
That's been incredibly imperfect. And huge efforts still need to be made to move it in the right direction. That's one of the reasons J Street exists.
Yeah, it's it's been an abject failure, don't you think, big dog? It's only moved in one direction since its inception, which started with the Nakba, 750,000 Arabs, Palestinians that were ethnically cleansed and pushed away from their ancestral homelands, never allowed to return again, and has kind of been going in the opposite direction of the one you want to move it in.
That's right. I mean, we exist because the view before us was, you just got to support Israel in everything. Israel is the perfect democracy in the Middle East, the only American democracy in the Middle East, and the only democracy in the Middle East, really.
This is what I mean. This is why it's fucking racist, bro. This is it. Liberal Zionism is still a racist ideology because Zionism is a racist ideology. What do you mean the only democracy in the Middle East, man? Why are we making it seem like there are no other, complicated and yet still somewhat democratic countries that exist in the fucking region? I know he did a Freudian slip and said American democracy. Shut the fuck up, chatters. It doesn't matter. The point he's making is he's using the same exact trope. Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. Yeah, guess what, dude? Israel's an apartheid state, which, J Street also recognizes, right? I'm pretty sure they do. How can it be a democracy while also being an apartheid state? It's fucking ridiculous. This is my problem. It's just, what are we doing? Yes, this is before we get to 2018 basic law passed by the Knesset is literally antithetical to his whole argument. We're not even talking about that. J Street does not recognize apartheid. Are you sure? I thought this was the whole point of the liberal Zionism, is that they recognize the West Bank occupation is bad and it's an apartheid and you got to stop it. And but that's the only way to do a two-state solution, that type of thing. I don't know. I thought that was the case.
And our argument was, no, there's all kinds of problems that
You are just an anti-Semite, Hasan. Yes, dude, you're right. I am the biggest anti-Semitite.
Need to be worked out, and we need to be honest and critical with a friend of ours in Israel. But the answer isn't to tilt all the way in the other direction and to say, Hamas and Israel are...
J Street recognized the genocide, right? J Street reluctantly had to recognize the genocide. Are we not supposed to punish people who have done a genocide? What's the argument here? Oh, well, we can't do the Nuremberg trials because they're supposed to be an ally to us. Is that the attitude? Words have meaning, right? If you recognize the genocide, as J Street says they recognize, then, we have to have some accountability for genocide, right? I mean, this is the entire principle of the entire reason for why we have Holocaust studies and genocide scholars in general is so that, it never happens again. And here it is happening again.
Hamas is a lot better than the Israeli government, and I'd much rather have Hamas than I would the Israeli government, and treating it as uniquely evil because, look, Bibi Netanyahu is a fascist, potentially an authoritarian. Donald Trump is also a fascist and authoritarian, right? Do I call America a fascist state?
You should, because it is. We are living in a fascist state. Hello? What the fuck? He's gonna lose the liberals with this one. What liberal is gonna look at the current modern day America that is watching Pod Save America and be like, wait a minute, what the fuck do you mean America's not currently a fascist? We are living through the fascist times.
Authoritarian state? No, I don't. I recognize that there's huge problems here, and I operate from within that very kind of...
Yeah, I operate within a consistent framework then, okay? Okay, never mind. Also, you can't have both of these things at the same time. Either Israel is democratically electing a fascist monster like Benjamin Netanyahu, or Israel's not a democracy. Now, of course, Israel is an apartheid, so who gives a fuck if there's a democratic process? That's my attitude, at least. Oh, wow, there's a real democracy for the in-group, and they are democratically deciding to destroy the out-group. Oh, great. Yes, I think the American government is a post-liberal, illiberal, fascist government. Yes, unbelievable that this is a point of contention. What the fuck does Trump need to do? He literally has set up concentration camps. He has an unaccountable force that he has given unlimited billions of dollars to go and wage war on American cities. He has occupied American cities. Unsuccessfully, but still attempted to subjugate American citizens, killed American citizens in the process, and keeps consistently blackbagging people that live in our neighborhoods.
So this, I think, was kind of my problem with Hasan. The argument was this state is uniquely evil. This state was founded purely based on ethnic cleansing. I mean, we have terrible ethnic cleansing in the founding of the history of the United States, and it's so many...
What is going on? Yeah, dude. What? Yes. That's my point. What the fuck? Yes. If left unaddressed, white supremacist fundamentals will inevitably bring about a fascist government. We are currently in that fascist government that is actively rewriting the rules in the United States of America. Why? He's like, hey, guess what, guys? In order to prove that I'm right, I'm going to show you how wrong I am with an example that you can literally identify from your own real life. Also, this argument is so ridiculous because it's like, well, every country has been designed with a little bit of ethnic cleansing. Why can't we? I don't know. Maybe because Israel did it in 1948. Okay. Key quote from him. I listened to the interview with John. I don't think Hasan is anti-Semitic. I just think his views are misinformed. I mean, I think his views are misinformed.
Different countries around the world. And so
people would just say, look, the reality on the ground is that it's this much darker version of whatever that intention was of permanent occupation. And then some would argue apartheid, or at least very clear instances where there are different rules for Jews and Palestinians. We can unpack that as well. What would you say to that?
Sure. Well, I'd say I don't disagree with that, right? But the answer is not Hamas, right? I mean, pull back a little bit. You know, I also worked, on the presidential campaign in 2024.
Okay, PFLP. That's fine. Like, my point is, it's not up to me. End the occupation, end the apartheid, let the Palestinians decide. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, I don't agree with the internal governance of Hamas. Like, it's just not, that's not the main problem. The main problem is the Israeli occupation. It sounds silly. It sounds like a silly conversation to have. And some people, even in the Western world, like leftist, socialist, communists, even in the Western world, will be like, well, Hamas is Islamist. So I guess like I would be in favor of PFLP. It's like, no. That's not the point here, okay? The point isn't us pushing our design on the Palestinian population. The point is Palestinian people having sovereignty and dignity, okay? They get to choose. I would like for them to be communist, socialist, right? That'd be great, but that's not up to me. I want them to stop being murdered. That's my main gripe here.
Spent a lot of time talking to American Jews. Spent a lot of time talking to voters. And I think most voters are not in these two extreme positions, right? I mean, I think at the end of the day, you have those who are from the beginning inside the Democratic Party have said, here's the AIPAC position. We're going to support Israel no matter what. And then there's where Hasan is, which is to argue that Israel is this kind of uniquely evil or deeply, deeply problematic.
I mean, it is uniquely evil. Like, it is. In this day and age, the only country that gets to do Israel shit, and not even to the same severity of Israel in terms of its like civilian targeting, like direct civilian targeting, is the United States of America. And the United States of America gets to do it because it's the hegemonic superpower, right? So in that vein, it is. I try to think about like alternatives where I'm like, there are still like colonial holdovers that France occupies and like, you know, some European powers occupy. However, if any Western country, I'm talking about Western and Western aligned nations, we're still in this day and age. No, guys, oh God, people are like, what about Sudan? Dude, you're failing to hear my point, okay? I'm not saying other countries aren't doing fucking genocides. Yes, Sri Lanka is a great example. I know, okay? Calm the fuck down. There is no other country like Israel in the sense that there is no other country that gets to only do this because America is giving it unlimited and unconditional fucking support. And then that country turns around and intervenes in the domestic affairs of the American public, okay? Holy shit. That's the reason why there is a uniqueness to what Israel is doing. Other countries are also committing genocide. I'm not saying genocide is unique to Israel. Oh my God.
State where the reality is, I think you find most, at least American voters, I would argue, and you can look at polling that shows this, that can say, hey, you know, what I really want is for
like, you don't get fired for saying the UAE is backing the RSF that's committing a genocide in Sudan. But you can get fired in certain instances, and you certainly could get fired, or at least you get yelled at quite a bit for saying Israel is committing one with American support. Okay? That's the difference. That's what I'm trying to explain here. There is a uniqueness to it. And as far as like civilian casualties and civilian targeting goes, or the maintenance of an apartheid and the maintenance of an occupation that has lasted for 80 years at this point goes, yes, Israel is unique. Israel is more unique than South Africa, for example. Because back in the day, you could say, well, South Africa has an apartheid. Sure. Right? The difference with Israel is that Israel has been able to outlive the South African apartheid. There aren't any congresspersons that would be like, you know, as a Democrat, I know it's a 90-10 issue, but I'm going to probably erode what remains of my credibility to defend the RSF because they're waging a brilliant war against the Sudanese civilian population on the fucking halls of the Senate. You know what I mean? No one is going on. There's no Chuck Schumer equivalent to maintaining the genocide of the Sudanese population. That's why I'm saying it's unique. It's unique because of its resilience. Israel's apartheid has gone on for far longer than other historical apartheid states that were aligned with the West.